What's up, guys? Donovan here, Martial Arts Business Made Easy team, and I'm going to give you some information today, basic business by the numbers. So you have to know your numbers. I'm sure you guys have heard me say that plenty of times, probably to the point that it's annoying, but I study my numbers constantly. And there's a difference between opening a school where your number should be versus if you're at capacity or you're somewhere in between, okay? So I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that, and then I'm just going to give you some examples of percentages we shoot for in my businesses. To give you a quick backstory, I have 3 locations. We do over $1 million a year in sales. So these are the targets that we try to hit, and I'm going to deep dive a little bit into each one. And it's something that I wish more business coaches out there, more gurus would talk about. Between myself and my partner, we spent over $100,000 for continuing education when it comes to business programming, and it's just something that no one really talked to me about until I had to, really hammer down and ask some questions. So here's some tough love. Here's the numbers that we shoot for. And let's jump right in. All right, so for rent, all right, so at capacity, your school, the rent should be between 10 and 15%. So I know when you're a brand new facility, that is just not the case, right? So one of our newest locations, does $6,000 a month. Our rent's $2,000 a month. That means our rent is basically 33% of our gross. So that obviously doesn't hit that number. But what we want to hit, though, is between 10 to 15% of rent at capacity. So I know that if my rent is $5,000 a month, I need to be able to at least hit $50,000 a month to be able, for me and my business, for that number to make sense, okay? So at capacity, you want your rent to be somewhere between 10 and 15%. If your rent is lower and it's less than 10%, good for you, it's just more money in your pocket. All right, payroll, this is a big one here. 25 to 35% is where your payroll should be. This is what you pay your staff to teach classes. This is what you spend. Even if you are at your facility, if you're teaching every day, your pay is also in that number as well. So between 25 and 35% of your monthly gross should be going to payroll. All right, owner draw. Again, between 25 and 35% here. So obviously the higher your payroll is, the lower your owner draw will be. I tend to pay my staff a lot in comparison to what the normal martial arts industry pays their team. But I think, rewarding your team has many benefits, and that's a whole nother video to get into. But yeah, so at the end of the month, you want to take home as an owner about 25 to 35%. And one thing I get a question all the time is, yes, you should take 2 separate paychecks here. So if you are the head instructor at your facility, you should be getting paid in your payroll. And if you are the owner, you should be taking an owner draw as well. They should be 2 separate positions that come with 2 separate paychecks. All right, and then savings here. So in the beginning, if you can, right, we want to put about 10% of our gross every month into savings. But notice I say until full, okay? So that number is whatever predetermined number it happens to be for you. It might be $5,000, it might be $10,000, it might be $20,000. I would recommend having about 6 months of rent. 6 months of rent payments in there. That's something that I like to use as my measuring pole. It is up to you. I keep 6 months of rent in savings for my businesses. All right, guys, so from here, and then 10%, just kind of monthly expenses, advertising, uniforms, all the other stuff that you need for your business, 10%. So again, these numbers can fluctuate a little bit. If your rent is down to 10% here, that means you have a 5% window here that can go into something else, okay? And then vice versa. And it fluctuates every month. If I can hit these numbers every quarter or every year, I will be happy with that. But this does fluctuate. Some months this 10% is 15% or 18%. Savings sometimes maybe more than 10% or it might be less. So these are just numbers that I think are a good measuring tool to stick to. All right, so I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to clean this off, wipe this down. Okay, so for a lot of school owners, I know we want to get to that $20,000 mark. All right, so we want to get that gross equal to $20,000. That's the number we want to shoot for. All right, so if you have a pretty low ACV, if your ACV is, $125, sorry. Your ACV is $125 a month, which means your average client is worth $125 a month. You need roughly, 160 members to hit that 20K mark, okay? So I'm going to break down the percents we just talked about here. All right, so if you're making 20K a month, rent should be what? Between 2 and 3K. All right, so what I mean here by this is if you're capping out at $20,000. So at the end of the month, if $20,000 is the most amount of money you make, you don't want your rent to be over $3,000 a month. If it is, you need to figure out a way to make more money or find a different location. All right, rent should be somewhere in there. All right, so for payroll, for all of your staff, we should be spending between 5 and 7K a month, okay? About $5,000 to $7,000 a month is what you should be paying your team. All right, same number here for owner draw. As an owner, you want to be taking home between 5 to 7K a month. Again, this number might fluctuate a little bit. This is at, this is when you're rocking out 20K a month and you're doing really well. We should be bringing home, I would say, at least $5,000 a month as an owner, plus whatever it costs to replace yourself. Say you're an instructor, you're the head instructor, you pay yourself $30,000 a year. You should be making $2,500 a month out of this payroll, and you should also be making about $5,000 a month as an owner. All right, so you should be bringing home, at 160 students, you should be bringing home about $7,500 a month. So getting close to that $100,000 mark. That's really doable, right, for anyone. 10% of savings. Right, again, between probably roughly around 2K a month. But once that number is at capacity where you want it to, you're good to go. All right, and then just kind of miscellaneous other stuff that you spend on your business, about $2,000 a month. That might be t-shirts, it might be some advertising, some events, it might be anything else that goes into your business. And again, these numbers, are not scientific, they're not exact, but this is something that we try to shoot for in my businesses. There's plenty of months that the miscellaneous is a lot higher than $2,000. But at the end of the day, like I said, if I can hit, generally, if I can, hit this target every quarter, it's going to be a win for me and my team. All right, guys, so I just want to share this information with you. This is business by the numbers. This is real numbers for your business. If you have any questions, ask below. This is stuff that I wish more people would talk about when it comes to business. But hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you have any questions, ask below. I'd love to help. See ya.